I did not violate the law. I never used my office for personal gain. Never.
The dramatic promise from the embattled Metro Council member Anthony Piagentini today. But right now he's fighting for his seat on the Metro Council, promising a fight, as we will learn soon if he will face that removal process. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Doug Proffitt. Piagentini's battle took some new twists today, with the mayor also pulling the grant money at the center of the question of the ethics violations. WHAS11's focus team investigator John Charlton covered both of the news conferences today. And John, he's gearing up for a fight, but we still don't know yet if they're going to remove him or when that process is going to begin.
Well, Doug, Councilman Piagentini said over and over again at his press conference that the fix was in. He claims he never had a shot with the makeup of the Ethics Commission. Piagentini argues that the commission was stacked against him thanks to selections made by former Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher. Piagentini points out that the only two fellow Republicans on the commission were converted Democrats. The Metro Councilman says he did the right thing, recusing himself right before the vote on a bill he co-sponsored to send $40 million in American Rescue Plan money to the Louisville Healthcare CEO Council. Around that time, he landed a $240,000 consulting job with that organization.
You know, I can't control when somebody approaches me about a job, right? I have no control over that. When they do, I am then required to do what the law requires me to do. And I did precisely that.
Piagentini says he has just begun to fight, and he and his attorney plan to do so at some point in court. Meanwhile, the Ethics Commission strongly recommended the removal of Piagentini from Metro Council. The mayor, or at least 5 Metro Council members, can call for that. However, when we asked Mayor Greenberg if that process has been set in motion, all he would say is that the Ethics Commission provided a strong recommendation, which we should take very seriously. John Charlton, WHAS11, on your side.
John, thank you. Now, the former mayor Greg Fisher is reacting to the claims by Piagentini, which John just mentioned, saying his appointees were approved by the Metro Council and are known for their integrity. Fisher going on to say to suggest otherwise is nonsense and an insult to their commitment to our city. Fisher went on to say if Piagentini disagrees with the commission findings, he has different avenues to appeal beyond insulting those who volunteered to serve our city. Meantime, in the aftermath of Councilman Piagentini's ethics trial, Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg now says he's pulling the funding to Louisville healthcare CEOs and using that money elsewhere. At least he wants to. This is something the mayor says will bolster trust and credibility with taxpayers. Greenberg says the money should be broken up this way. He wants $16 million to go to the Metro United Way, AMPT, Louisville Urban League, and the University of Louisville. The rest of the $24 million he wants to put into parks and libraries. It's a tight deadline. The ARP money must be used by the end of the next year.
So we're fortunate that we have a new parks plan that's ready to go. And we have the approved renovations and construction for 4 libraries that only need some final funding to move forward.
Greenberg said public pools would get their much-needed renovations as part of the park's funding. This is just the mayor's recommended plan. The Metro Council must approve that. So let's pick up on that question first with the Metro Council President Marcus Winkler, the Democrat who also represents a fast-growing section of eastern Jefferson County, joining us to talk about what's next in the step there. You co-sponsored the grant, the $40 million that went to the Healthcare CEOs Council. What do you think about Mayor Greenberg now saying, let's pull that money out and give it to somebody else?
Yeah, I certainly understand and don't disagree in light of everything that's come to light recently. It's certainly disappointing. I mean, I think ultimately trying to get people that are unemployed or underemployed into the workforce should be one of our critical aims, and it's disappointing to see this project not move forward because of what's happened. However, I do think making investments in our parks and pools and libraries is also critical to our community, and so I'm generally supportive of the directions that he proposed today.
Okay, you saw the statement from the former mayor, Greg Fisher. Piagentini spent a lot of time today impugning the credibility of the Ethics Commission. He's also attacked the chairman of that commission. What do you think? Did he make any points on that? Well, what do you think about the folks that are on that commission that you guys approved on the Metro Council?
Yeah, well, I haven't always agreed with Mayor Fisher, but in this case, I do agree. I mean, I think that attacking the integrity of the commission is really uncalled for, and I don't think it's correct. I mean, these are volunteers; they're not political operatives. They've given their time, and really, I think it's unfortunate because the implication is that no one can evaluate an issue if it comes from the other side of the aisle. And I don't think that's representative of the individuals in the Ethics Commission. I don't think it's representative of the individuals on council or really any members of our city.
So do you support their verdict? Do you agree with their verdict in this?
Well, I can't comment on whether I agree with their verdict or not. I mean, ultimately, if charges are brought and it comes before the council, at that point, we'll have to render an opinion of whether their verdict is correct or not. I am simply commenting on whether I believe them to be ethical or unethical, or biased or unbiased.
You'll oversee this process if there's another trial, but you also have a vote. Will you vote yes or no to remove Piagentini?
Again, that's probably not a question that I can answer at this point. I think when the facts come before us, we'll evaluate it and make a decision based on the evidence.
So let's get to the nitty-gritty here. Okay, it can be 5 council members must get this process going, or the Louisville mayor. The mayor sort of punted it, didn't really answer the question. So let me ask you, do you have 5 council members ready to move on the removal of Piagentini?
I don't know the answer to that question. Because I'd ultimately be the presiding officer, I'm not corralling votes.
What's your gut feeling telling you on getting 5 people together to do this?
I mean, I think the Ethics Commission's findings were pretty clear, and I think they were unambiguous, and I would not be surprised if there are 5 people that will bring charges.
So will we see that play out next week? I mean, what is the speed on this process?
I don't know exactly. I mean, people can move at whatever speed they want. I would not be surprised if that's the case. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the week after that.
And then how long, would we go through another trial and hearing?
Yeah, I mean, it then becomes very synonymous with sort of a regular court of law. So this is not an issue that would be adjudicated just in the next week or two. Assuming somebody or 5 people do in fact bring charges, then you have discovery. It's sort of a 30, 60, 90-day process where they're building a case, there's building a defense, and then you have an actual trial. So I would guess early next year at the soonest is when you'd see some sort of action, assuming somebody does in fact bring charges.
So again, on the Ethics Commission findings, where do you stand on that? Would it be unlikely that you would want to undo that, or do you disagree with it?
I thank the Ethics Commission for their work, and I look forward to hearing the case if it does in fact come to us, but I won't prejudge whether they made the right or wrong decision.
All right. Marcus Winkler, the president of the Louisville Metro Council, thank you for explaining very clearly what we're going to see probably in the next week and 2. All right.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for coming in. All right, let's check in once again here in Kentuckiana. It's Big Fall Weekend, and Christina San Juan has your weather update. Christina?
Yeah, it's certainly feeling every bit like fall out there, Doug. You know that if you've stepped out the door. It is also quite breezy and cloudy outside. A little bit of a chill in the air for us as temperatures are just now in the lower 60s around the city. We have some cooler areas here, though, 55 right now around Shepherdsville. And then we have a bunch of 50s there on the Indiana side of the river. Mid-60s, though, if you're along and south of the parkways. Everybody's feeling at least a little bit of a breeze, though. Right now we're sustained about 15 miles per hour here in Louisville, and then it's a little bit stronger of a wind south of the parkways around Munfordville over to Columbia. Now, as we take you along on Futurecast, you're going to want that extra layer and perhaps a blanket as you head out and about on this Friday night. Temperatures are going to be tumbling into the middle 50s right around sunset this evening, and then continue dropping into the lower 40s out the door tomorrow morning, and likely going to see some patchy fog if you're out and about early in the morning as well. But don't worry, we are going to see those numbers recover really nicely for us into tomorrow afternoon. We're actually going to be pushing the middle 70s in many locations. We are, though, going to be keeping that breeze around for us, so do keep that in mind for any sort of fall activities that you have going on Saturday. By Sunday, probably still just a little bit of a breeze, but it's also going to be much cooler, so kind of going to have to pick your poison here. If you want the warmer weather, you're going to have to deal with a breeze. If you want that sunshine, you're going to have to deal with some cooler temperatures there, though. I do have some really warm weather, though, in the 7-day forecast that I'll show you guys coming up here in less than 10 minutes. Doug?
Christina, thank you. The other developing story here we've been following today, the EPA out in Highview says it's now on schedule with the demolition of that home on Applegate Lane, which is filled with explosive chemicals, anticipating that the project is going to be complete on Applegate Lane by the end of the month. The latest efforts come months after police first discovered the chemical-laden house back in July, despite an original plan to burn it down. The EPA eventually suggested dismantling the home piece by piece, and as you can see, that's been happening. The work actually started Monday of this week. Louisville Metro Emergency Services then gave us these drone pictures the other day of the demolition. The EPA says the roof and the back wall of the home are down and its contents are coming out in 2 separate waste streams depending on the debris and chemicals. The EPA says they've had a few chemical reactions and even a small fire in their reaction box, as they call it, while breaking down the chemicals, but they say their emergency plans were able to quickly get everything under control.
We found a lot of things that I would say surprise us that are in a residential home. A lot of compressed gas cylinders, very small compressed gas cylinders. But we have in our reaction box had a few reactions go off. We had a fire in it the other day. Our contingency plans in those situations have worked exactly as they were designed. Fire was immediately snuffed out. We did a stand down, assessed the situation, and decided to continue mixing operations just at a slower rate.
And some good news for nearby residents. The EPA says its air monitoring systems, which are set up throughout the neighborhoods, show no irregularities in the area. Some late breaking news this afternoon. The IDF says 2 American hostages, a mother and a daughter released by Hamas, were received at the border of the Gaza Strip and reunited with their families who were there waiting for them. ABC News is in Jerusalem.
The Israel Defense Force has confirmed to ABC News that 2 Americans, a mother and a daughter, who were being held hostage by Hamas, have been released and are currently with the Red Cross. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visiting with IDF soldiers as the Israel Defense Forces prepare for a ground invasion against Hamas militants in Gaza. Israel continuing its armed response for the terror attack by Hamas militants. At least 1,400 Israelis were killed in the massacre.
They can't even identify the bodies. It's so bad.
The IDF says Hamas took more than 200 people hostage. Families of some of those hostages traveling to the Red Cross in Geneva, pleading for help.
Any civilized country should put as much pressure as they can for the release of the hostages.
In an address last night, President Biden saying America stands firmly with Israel as well as Ukraine, 2 U.S. allies at war.
We're facing an inflection point in history. If we walk away from Ukraine, if we turn our backs on Israel, it's just not worth it.
Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes into Gaza continue. The Hamas-run Palestinian Health Ministry says more than 3,700 people in Gaza have been killed, millions displaced from their homes, trapped without food, water, medicine, or electricity.
And we went to the hospital. They were bombing above our heads. We were just terrified. We didn't know if we will reach the place safely or not.
Pro-Palestinian protests growing around the world, thousands taking to the streets in Yemen, Egypt, Iraq, and elsewhere demanding a ceasefire in Israel's assault.
The barbaric attack by Hamas need to be condemned, but I've also said they cannot be a pretext for a collective punishment of the Palestinian people.
The IDF says the 2 hostages released were received at the border of the Gaza Strip, then taken to a military base at the center of the country where their families were waiting for them. Inez de la Quatera, ABC News, Jerusalem.
ABC's World News Tonight will have a lot more on the developing story of the hostage release and the ongoing conflict in the Middle East at 6:30, right after WHAS 11 News at 6. So stay here with us throughout the evening.